Hi folks, I'm Nate, the Two Guys Riding. Today Rob and I are down here back to the 50s on this beautiful, gorgeous day. Thankfully for some cloud cover today. It was a little warm yesterday. But we are here with Mike and Jess. Guys, thanks for having us today.
Thank you for being part of this.
And you have an incredible car behind you. What kind of car is this?
It is a 1949 Chevrolet Fleetline.
And the best thing about it is the story that you're going to find out as we go through the car. So thanks for spending time with us today.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
All right, so, to start with, it's unusual, Jess, to find a wife that actually has done some work on the car, has done supportive work. If not, what have you slept in the garage? Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to I think a little bit it goes back to the story of the condition that it was found in as a kind of barn find, if you will, from the family. And Mike can share more about kind of the story of that. But it was in rough shape when we got to it, which meant it needed a lot of work. And I was 7-8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
And we were driving back and forth to Mike's dad's garage in Wisconsin, which meant we had limited time to work on it. So we needed to make the most of whatever time we had, which meant I slept in a zero gravity chair in the garage, feet up. He would work on it till all hours of the night. I'd wake up, crack an eye, you still working on it? How's it going? Go back to sleep kind of thing. So it was definitely a labor of love from the beginning.
That's some dedication right there.
It is. You know, it was funny because I was in Minnesota. The shop that we were working on it was in Wisconsin. And I'd come home late on Sunday night and she'd say, "What did you get done?" And I'd say, "Well, we got the cross member done," or "We got this done." And she'd say, "That's all you got done?" Well, then she started actually going into the shop with me and helping me with it, and realized that when you're building these things, it doesn't just happen overnight, and it is very, very time consuming to get it right.
So back to Jess for a minute. So you have done some hands-on work with helping with the car.
Yeah, hands-on is a good segue into the story. So given that we were newly married and as we were working on it, we had a small child and funds were not abundant. So we took on the aspects that we could, which included the upholstery. So we ended up one winter doing the upholstery in our kitchen. And as we were working on it, my job was to stretch the fabric as tight as possible so that Mike could hog ring it to the frame. And inadvertently at one point got a little too close to my fingers and hog ringed the tip of my finger to the frame. So
you're still married?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got blood, sweat, and tears in the car. That's
Literal
for sure.
blood and tears. So, and plenty of sweat too.
Yes,
so
lots of sweat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so back to Mike. So this has been a real labor of love between the two of you.
It has.
I mean, that has, wow. So now, on top of that, there's an incredible story about how you found the car. Let's just start back at the beginning. So, when did you first see this car that we're looking at today?
So my dad got this car in about 1975. He was 15 years old. It was in a field, and it actually got pulled from the field into my parents' garage after they got married.
Okay.
Then it sat in the garage for several years. As I was a little kid, I can remember them kind of tinkering with it, putting the small block in it, getting rid of the six-cylinder.
So this runs in the family. You get married and you pull a car in.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's about how it goes.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's the first baby.
Yeah, there you go.
So as being a little kid, you know, I can remember it, and then it went away. It actually went down to my uncle's chicken coop or pig barn in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So it sat down there for several years, and I would say about after 2 weeks of Jessica and I being married, I said, we need a project. So I showed her pictures of this car, and she said, sure, why not? And that's all it took. So I think a week later, we were on our way to La Crosse, Wisconsin, pulled it out of the barn, brought it back to Wisconsin, kind of cleaned up what was there just to kind of assess where it was at, and then just slowly started working on it over the next 5 years.
So 5 years it took to go from what it was to this.
Yeah, about 5 years.
Man, you know, we've done a little customization on some other vehicles, and talk about doing the hog rings on the seats and stretching that's, I mean, huge to have an extra hand.
It is.
To do that. I mean, that isn't, and nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
Nothing is perfect at all.
No.
So when you do it, it's like, okay, well, I ordered this, but it doesn't fit quite the way it did, or how in the world did they get this? And you have to kind of figure it out. So kudos to both of you for sticking through that.
Well, and along with that, my dad had a lot of, between the three of us, we pretty much built the car.
Okay, so
he had a lot to do with it too. Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah,
so as soon as it got out of his garage, out of his hair, then he could help.
Yep. And it was, it's definitely a family thing. This is what we've been into for years with building vehicles, and this just kind of brought it all together.
All right. So you start with it as a child. You've seen it. All right. So you start out. This car as a kid.
Right.
I'm sure you probably climbed it in a time or two.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then it goes to Wisconsin. You grow up, years go by, You get married, and within the first 2 weeks, you go back and start working on it.
Right.
So, this must have been sitting in your brain as boy, and I'd love to get that car up and going.
It was always the dream when we go back to the 50s, even before we had classics ourselves, to build the car. And it's funny how it went through 5 or 6 different, it's going to be this color, and then it's going to be this color. When we were working on it at the shop, we actually jammed it out in a blue color, rolled it out into the sunlight, and it just wasn't exciting for me. Jessica might have a different view of that. So,
did you prefer the blue color?
Well, I think so. I don't have a background in classic cars, and so this was kind of an all new adventure to me and whatnot. So I think part of Mike and I's journey with the car was me starting to understand what vision he had and just come along with it. I tend to be a little bit more of a traditionalist. So to be fair, we had talked about color concepts, and I think that Mike was perhaps trying to include me a little more than his heart wanted to. And so we had decided on this color together. He's in Wisconsin without me, and he basically called and was like, yeah, we're not doing it that color. And I was like, okay, well, what color is it? And he sent me the colors, and I was a bit hesitant, but I've had to eat my words time and time and time again because it garners a lot of attention. Everyone comments on the colors, and so I'm humble enough to admit when I'm wrong.
Okay, so it started out blue. You ended up with this beautiful, what do you call that?
That is a sassy grass green pearl. That's what the green is.
Okay.
And then it's more of a GM pearl white, which is hard to see with the clouds right now. And then we tweaked the pearl a little bit in it just to give it a little bit more undertone with the golds.
Now it's a translucent paint?
It is very thin. It took a lot of green to get to the point that we're at today.
Color,
yeah.
I was commenting earlier. I just like it. It was really popping in the sun yesterday.
Yeah.
But just how it appears, it doesn't, but it appears to change color shades as it goes down the sides.
It does.
From the way the sun catches on it.
That's the pearl.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about any sort of modifications, or is it all original? But let's just start at the front. Anything with these would not have been original headlamps.
Nope. The headlamps, the turn signals actually were down in the grill. This is more of a modern turn signal inside of the headlight assembly, just to try and make things a little bit safer.
Absolutely.
As far as the front goes, so this was a 2-piece hood. We filled that in, welded it in, cleaned it up. So that's now a 1-piece hood. As far as the rest of it goes, it's a disc brake conversion in the front.
Okay.
It's still the drums in the back. The rear end is out of an older Nova.
Okay.
It's got a built-up 350 Chevy engine in it with a 700 R4 automatic overdrive transmission.
Okay. So you've had some modifications to it. Kept the body original, except for the front hood.
Yep.
But you drive it.
We drive it a lot. Yeah.
This is we were talking about yesterday because we found a little bee,
Yes.
pinstriped into the back of the trunk. And we're like, well, that's a really cool design, but what's the significance of it? And you said?
That was my very first chip as I was hanging the stainless molding on the back quarter panel. I dropped it, and it put a chip in the paint as fresh paint. Yeah, that kind of made me nauseous because nobody wants to, before it's even on the road, start putting chips in it already. So the pinstriping guy, he decided to bury the chip by putting a little bumblebee in the back of it with pinstriping.
And that is a cool idea because you cannot tell.
Right.
Very creative.
But as with any car, when it's first new and you're first done, you're just very sensitive to anything that is that a scratch on there. And then after a while, you're like,
Yep.
okay. So this car has got a few hiccups on it just from, our, we'll call it road rash, right? It's just little
it's
rocks
driven.
picking up because you drive it.
Yep.
Now, you can't tell it from sitting out here.
Well, in addition to driving it, we also have 2 young boys that, get in and out of it as well and try to help clean it. So I will say there's definitely been some proud wife moments as I've watched Mike bite his lips pretty much bloody as a boy's picked up a wash rag that just fell on the ground or
Start wiping.
opened up a door a little too hard and whatnot. And just the patience that it is a family car. It started with a family story. It's our family now. It'll hopefully be our boys and their family at some point. And it is precious to us, but it is not more precious than the family that enjoys it.
And the
Absolutely.
family gets to enjoy it. The kids are going to grow up in this. They're going to have that love.
We take it to go get ice cream on the weekends. It's
a legacy.
Yeah, it's an ice cream getter. It's we go and we take a family drive, on the weekends kind of thing. It's
Family therapy is what I call it. If we're having a bad day, we just hop in this thing, go for a ride, and everybody just smiles.
All right, let's walk around the back here for a minute.
Okay.
On our way there, talk to us about the lake pipes here.
So the lake pipes were supposed to have been functional, but as we got more into the exhaust part of it, we realized that in order to get the exhaust connected to it, it was going to have to go down under the frame, which was going to make it a lot lower than what it should have been. So they are just for show. When we built it, we were trying to keep the chrome wheels with a little bit of chrome and just build up, the wide white walls match up with the top of the roof being kind of in the same color family. It was just well thought out, in my eyes anyway, trying to keep everything just visually appealing instead of just one thing.
It would have originally had some sort of a stone guard.
Yes, it would. I decided to get rid of that.
Clean up the lines.
To clean up the lines a little bit. We were trying to keep everything more horizontal, and that actually would have brought more of the vertical lines to it.
Yeah.
So I may be paying the price with a few rock chips here and there, but I think it was worth it.
You're going to get rock chips no matter what.
It's going to happen.
Even if you have the guard, you're going to get them somewhere else. So do it the way you love.
Exactly.
All right, so step around the back here. Of course, fuel tank. Filler still, that's where you've...
Original location.
Okay.
Yep.
I love the pinstriping you've done, and you can really kind of clearly see it on the front hood and then back here.
The pinstriping actually was the guy who did it. I kind of told him what I wanted, just left him all creativity. He kind of went in his own direction with it, but it just actually really kind of fits the car.
I like it. I like the colors they chose. I mean, I think it looks really nice. But it takes a talent. That's all freehand.
It is. Yeah, it's all free.
You watch the guys do it, which I've done before. It's like, oh, better not sneeze or have a fly land on you.
No.
Wow.
He is very old school, that's for sure.
Taillights.
Taillights were converted to LEDs. They look exactly as they would have in 1949, just updated to make things a little bit brighter.
Same placement, same place, same kind of a chrome trim and
Yep.
everything?
Yep.
Okay. And then, of course, you have the actual exhaust now coming out the back.
Right. That wouldn't have had the duals back in the day, but with the V8.
Talk about your license plate.
So the finally part came in because we've had it in our family so long. It finally is done. That's how we came up. The I was taken by Minnesota already, so I had to go with the Y. But everybody gets it. It makes sense.
Oh, immediately. There's the B that we were talking about.
Yes, that's the B. The famous
You have
B.
a lot more of those Bs on here.
Well,
but,
you know what's crazy about it is we'll be sitting in a chair at a show, and I cannot tell you how many people pick that out and don't understand what it is. So I'll come over and explain to them why it's there, and then they'll rub their finger where the actual
where the chip
nick
is.
the chip is, and they just start laughing. It brings a smile.
The guy that did it really covered it up well. I mean, it just really looks like it's part of it. Okay,
Absolutely.
Let's come around to this side here. You've got, of course, the original mirrors.
Yes,
Okay.
Those did not have mirrors back in the day. That's an add-on feature.
Oh, this is an add-on.
It is.
Okay. And then the windshield hood.
The visor did not come with it. We had 4 or 5 different visors that my dad and I fitted on there, and I think that actually made the most sense. It almost looks like it belongs there.
It does.
With the body lines, I think, and a lot of people have said this to me, is the car would not be the same without that visor because it gives it a little bit of an angry attitude look to it, really.
It does change the look, doesn't it?
It does a lot, yeah.
Now let's talk about the interior because now we can see the Jess's work in here. Well, we can't see all the heavy lifting you helped to put things in place, right? That's hidden. But here are the seats that you worked on in your kitchen.
Yes.
So can we open the door, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead. Just remember, it's a driver.
This is. I love this. The seats are very nice. Of course, it's a driver. It's not going to be a perfect car. It's not really what you wanted. You want something to look good, function good. You wanted a memory from your childhood.
Yes.
Brought to life.
So the car is named Velda, and that is after my wife Jessica's grandma. She was kind of feisty and classy at the same time. So I had the guy who was doing the pinstriping put Velda on the dash of it, just kind of as a little memory of what's going on. Yeah.
Now, shifter, original location, different handle, or is it?
Nope, that would have actually been on the steering column. It's a low car shifter for the automatic overdrive transmission.
Okay, so when you put the new transmission in, then you put it through the floor. Okay.
Yep.
You do have a couple of additional gauges that you've run underneath. I'm sure just for you need to know where the engine is at.
That's your oil pressure, that's your temperature stuff, things that we watch pretty closely because you just never know what's going to happen.
Okay. Do you have air conditioning?
We do not. We just roll with it. It's got the four-window air conditioning.
The two. Oh, do the back windows roll down as well?
The back windows roll down as well.
So it is really four-window air conditioning.
It is four-window air conditioning. It was one of those, when you're getting married, you think of the things that are going to get it on the road, and you will add the rest of it later.
Yes. Which is, I mean, that's part of the fun on a car.
Yes.
In some ways it's done, but in some ways it's never done, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that the truth?
They're never done.
It is. It is. But, I mean, it looks great. Now, you would have added the center arm console there. That's an added
We did, yeah. That was something that just, you needed a place, because it still does have the original no power steering, big steering wheel. It's a good place to put your arm to just kind of balance things out as you're driving down the road.
Well, just to hold the cup. Like you said, you use the car. So
we do.
How many of us have something to drink in our car? Everybody, right?
Yeah.
So now, when you got the car finished, there's a neat part of the story we haven't even talked about yet.
There is. We, as a family, figured out that we are the third owners of the vehicle. So the person who bought the vehicle originally, my dad had found out who it was years ago. And I heard that he was dying of cancer. So the very first trip that we actually took with the vehicle was out to his house. And I knocked on the door and introduced myself, and the guy told me, "That's a really nice car. I used to have one just like it."
Oh.
And I said, "Donnie, this is your old car."
Oh, wow.
So I feel very privileged to have met him. He actually passed away a little bit later, so I think it was all meant to be that we got to meet him, got stories. The car was bought on a trip to the Grand Ole Opry by him and his family, and then it was brought back to Wisconsin shortly after, and then it lived most of its life with them. Yeah.
And until he sold it to
it was sold
to your dad.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool to have the whole story of the car.
It
we
is
know everything.
from when it was picked up at the parking lot to or the
speeding, the speeding tickets. You know, some of the people who've been in the car that we know. Pretty cool.
Oh,
I feel really fortunate.
And that is so fun because that is all part of who the car is.
Yeah, absolutely.
What the car is. It just makes it all that much more special. All right. Well, I've got one more question for you.
All right.
Okay. So one final question is that what is one of your favorite memories? Each of you with the car?
So I would have to say my favorite memory, and it's a culmination of memories, is just being able to do this with my family. We're lucky. We get to spend sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It's real.
It is. Give me just a second.
No, you're good. We got gigabytes are cheap. Take all the time you want. But this is not bad, so don't look at it that way.
No, it's not. That shows you how much it means. No kidding. All right.
That's just when they see my face.
Let's try it again.
Okay.
A couple more tears. Okay. There we go.
Okay. So one more question for both of you. What is one of your favorite memories? I'm sure you have many.
Yeah, like I was just saying, it's kind of a culmination of memories. I mean, I feel really fortunate that we have been able to build this car as a family. You know, it's from her and I just getting married and not having squat for money.
Yeah.
And being able to build it with my dad and my mom and Jessica, and I mean, we've got pictures of my little guy who's now 9 years old in the trunk as I'm working on it, and he's sleeping in a car seat. You know, that's pretty cool. You know, being able to hang out with my dad and bounce ideas off of him and my mom and just everybody as a family. I mean, that's what this is to us. Is it's all about family. You know, we're lucky to have this, and I hope the sport continues to keep growing.
Jess, what about you?
Well, there's a difference between my favorite memory and what's most memorable. I think the hog ringing of my finger is most memorable. That had some pain to sear it. I remember that vividly. But I think my a little bit along the same lines as Mike. Like, I just feel so grateful that we have this and that we're able to continue to make memories in it. You know, when we go for ice cream on a Sunday drive and we look in the back seat and it's not two little kids in car seats anymore, it's a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, and what is it going to be when they're 13 and 10? And like, look almost in thinking about memories, thinking about the future and what memories we'll get to make in it together as a family, I think is
fighting over who's going to take it to prom, you know, things like that. I mean, that's the whole fast forward into what this is going to be for us.
Right.
What an awesome story.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you.
I appreciate
Jess,
it very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Jess, thank you so much.
Thanks
for sharing your awesome story in your car with us. We sure appreciate it.
We appreciate
Thank
it
you
as
guys
well.
very much.
And thanks for watching.